Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. This is Clay with the Pennsylvania Roller Coaster Club, and first and foremost, we'd like to say thank you for checking out this video. Secondly, if you haven't already done so, we would really appreciate it if you'd consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Those two things in and of themselves can really help the channel grow. But today, we're going to go on a journey from worst to first with the roller coasters of Lake Compounce. Now, before we get started, guys, we always like to take a little look at the history that kind of brought us here to this point today. Lake Compounce is the oldest amusement park in the United States, opening in October of 1846. So definitely some great history here. Now, in the early 80s, it was actually acquired by Hershey Park, and Hershey would run it pretty much for the 80s. In the early 90s, it would come under the acquisition of Six Flags, who would run it towards the end of the 90s until Kennywood would come in and form a partnership, eventually buying out the rights to Lake Compounce. And then in 2008, Park 8 Rianitos bought them all. Moving on, number 5, Kiddie Coaster. Now, Kiddie Coaster, it is a Molina & Sons. I happen to know this particular model pretty well. It is Little Phantom at Kennywood. It is also a Molina & Sons of this era. So, pretty much a cut and paste of the Lil Phantom at Kennywood. So, way to go, Lake Compounce. Number 4, Wildcat. Now, admittedly, Wildcat, it was not open when K-Dog and I were there. It was in the middle of the current retrack that it is undergoing. And I would suspect that Wildcat will be opening next year at some point. Probably not at the beginning of the season. They still had quite a bit of work to do when we were there at the end of fall. But it did look clean. The work looked clean. It was impressive the way that they were doing it. And the track that had already been worked on and some of the pieces that were already seemingly put down and replaced, you could really tell a really huge difference between the two. So, yeah, can't wait. Moving on. Number 3, Zoomerang. So, this is not the worst boomerang in the world. These guys do, operate with the Vekoma trains. I believe this has the 3rd gen boomerang Vekoma trains, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, for a boomerang, relatively smooth. It was not very painful. You can tell that Lake Compounce puts a lot of time and effort into making sure that this ride is very well maintained to continue to give a good, smooth, and relatively pain-free ride experience to, guests coming to the park. So you can tell that this park really does a great job here. Number 2, Phobia Fear Coaster. So I feel pretty passionately about this one, and I never thought I was going to say that about a Skyrocket 2. So, obviously, with Kennywood being my home park, I am very familiar with the Skyrocket models in general, what they were built to do and how they do them. So, Phobia is the only Skyrocket 2 that has the exact same, identical trains to Skyrocket at Kennywood, meaning there is no crappy over-the-shoulder harnesses, no comfort collar, none of that crap. One lap bar, awesome. Number 1, Boulder Dash. As though this were any real surprise, I can tell you that when we were out there in the fall, when we had an opportunity to get 7 back-to-back dusk and night rides on Boulder Dash, and it was running absolutely insane. It's really difficult from this POV to understand how fast is when you are traversing the side of a mountain. And I don't say that lightly, because exactly how I described it is exactly what's taking place during this ride. It is absolutely out of control. And I can count on maybe one hand the amount of rides that I have got off of a little shook. And that's one of them. Now, guys, if you enjoy the type of content that we provide, as I said before, a like to the video and a subscription to the channel, it goes a long way. It really helps us fight against the YouTube algorithm to be able to put our content in the suggestions, essentially, for for different viewers. So we would appreciate the continued support in that regard. But Lake Compounce, if you haven't been, you gotta go. Boulder Dash is worth the price of admission in and of itself. Facts. But until next time, see you out there.